Hi, and welcome back to the Business Career College video series. In this video, we're going to look at old age security. And we're going to see that old age security is a fairly straightforward benefit. There's not a lot of complexity to it. We do have to understand how it works and see when it would pay benefits. So the first thing we can look at here is that OAS is a non-contributory program. And what that means is that there's not a separate pool of dollars to fund OAS, and you'll never have a payroll deduction related to OAS premiums or any of those types of issues. And then we see that OAS is based on residency. So in order to collect any OAS benefit, you have to have a minimum of 10 years of residency and be at least age 65. So we're looking for minimum 10 years of residency, starting at age 18. So residency as a child doesn't really count here. We're looking only to start counting residency at age 18. And it doesn't matter about citizenship. This has nothing to do with your citizenship status. This is purely about where you live. Now, you do have to be at least age 65 in order to collect this. Now, some of you are probably aware that there are some changes coming to this, but these changes won't take effect until 2023. So for now, we're still using a minimum age 65. And if you do meet these criteria, then you become eligible for an OAS benefit. And your OAS benefit is paid on a monthly basis. So we have a monthly benefit. As we're quite used to by now, this is a taxable benefit, and it's indexed. OAS is a little bit funny because it's indexed quarterly to inflation. So over the course of the year, it would get a full year's adjustment for inflation, but it actually changes every single quarter. So as of the last quarter of 2013, the OAS benefit right now is $550.99 per month maximum. Now that would assume that you have 40 years of residency. There is a slightly different set of rules for somebody who was at least age 25 and a Canadian resident prior to 1977. It's not something you have to concern yourself with for the most part. If you're doing maybe a financial planning exam, that could show up, but it's a pretty fine level of detail to test in order to get to that. So with 40 years of residency, you would have the maximum, and then anything less than that, you would have something less. So let's say we have, just to keep it easy here, let's say we have somebody with 25 years of residency out of a possible 40. So they would qualify for 25/40ths, or 62.5% of that $550.99. This person would qualify for a benefit of $344.37. And that would still be taxable, and it would still be indexed to inflation, but it's not going to grow to meet these extra years of eligibility either. So this person is going to obviously continue living in Canada after they start collecting this, but they're not going to have their benefit increased by the missing 2.5% per year. They're just going to be stuck at that $344.37, although it'll be indexed. Now, you do have to have a minimum 10 years of residency if you want to collect this. 20 years. You have to have a minimum of 20 years of residency if you want to collect this while you're a non-resident. There are some exceptions to that. We have some treaties with other countries where there's sort of a reciprocal agreement around OAS, where we might have credit for time in another country and they might give credit for our residency here. Really, this is something that you look at on a very case-by-case basis. Now, OAS is subject to some changes that we are dealing with right now. So the first thing is, similar to what we can have with Canada Pension Plan, you can actually wait. So you can actually wait up to an extra 5 years after you become eligible. And if you do wait up to an extra 5 years, you're going to have an increase, again, very similar to what we see with Canada Pension Plan, of 0.6% per month. So not identical to CPP, but very similar, that you wait. So if we have somebody who waits all the way to age 70, they'll have no benefit between 65 and 70, but then they'll have, that's 5 years times 12 months times 0.6%, that would be a 36% increase to the scheduled OAS benefit. So they would have their benefit increased by a pretty generous 36%. Okay, so then a well-known feature of old age security is the clawback. And we'll come back to some of the changes in a second as well. The other set of changes we have to look at doesn't start taking effect until 2023. We're going to look at the clawback first. So the old age security clawback is going to apply only to somebody who has very high income in retirement. So here's my case study. We have somebody who has income of, let's say, $90,000. And that's net income, so that's our line 236 income, which would be all of your income less your deductions from income. Okay, and that's going to be then at $90,000, about $70,000 is the threshold. So we have about a $70,000 threshold. That threshold does change every single year, but that's about where it's at right now. And you would be given that on an exam. You're not going to be expected to memorize what the threshold is, and it's especially difficult because it does change every single quarter when the OAS benefit changes. So let's say that this is the income at age 66. So at age 66, this person is a full $20,000 over the threshold. So now what happens is we take that $20,000 and we apply 15%. That's the figure you do have to know for an exam. That's something that I would suggest you should be carrying around in your head as you're preparing for any financial services exam. So now this person we can see is $3,000 over, or $250 over per month. So if they would have qualified for the $344.37 that we see over here, we would just take that $344.37, we would carve out that $250, and we would have $94.37. That would be the remaining OAS benefit. Now, we did this calculation at age 66, so this would adjust the benefit at age 67. So this would be their age 67 benefit. And then at age 67, we would do the calculation again for 68 and so forth. And there is a little bit of a funny here where if you have a year where you have an exceptional amount of income, your income is quite high just because of maybe selling a business or some activity like that, you can actually apply on a one-off basis to have your OAS clawback applied to the current year's income. But if it's going to be a recurring thing, so if income for this person is going to generally be around $90,000 a year, they would just have the clawback calculation done each year, and it would adjust their income in the their OAS benefit in the following year. The last thing to look at is the other set of changes with OAS, the other set of fairly substantial changes that's coming. Now this is starting in 2023. We're going to move eligibility back to age 67. So eventually we're going to have to wait until 67 to collect any OAS benefit. So this change will not affect anybody born in 1957 or earlier. For this person born in 1957 or earlier, it's always going to be age 65. And for the person born in 1963 or later, it will be age 67. This person will be fully affected by these changes. It's only the people in between here, people born in the years 58 to 62, where we have this phased change. And it's very circumstantial here. It's if you're born in 58, then it's a little different for somebody born in 59 and 60 and 61 and 62 and so forth. But it's fairly easy to see here the important dates, and then just in between you'd have this little bit of extra calculation to do. Now, one other thing that I always like to mention around OAS, there's a lot of financial planning considerations around OAS, but something that's a fairly easy bit of financial planning here is we said the minimum age for OAS is 65 and minimum 10 years of eligibility. So what if I have somebody who comes to Canada for the first time at the age of 57? So this person comes to Canada at age 57, and they've never had any residency here before. So now they start counting their residency at age 57. So when they get to 65, they have an issue here where they don't yet have 10 years of residency. So they're not OAS eligible. But what they can do is they can wait an additional 2 years, wait until age 67. At age 67 now, they will have their 10 years of eligibility, and then they can apply for OAS. They won't get a huge benefit. They would have only, if we just look down to the bottom left here, they would have only 10 years of eligibility. That'd be 1/4 of that benefit, but still, that's an OAS benefit that they otherwise wouldn't have access to. Now, that person would have to wait an ongoing period after age 67 in order to get this bump. They have to wait this extra 5 years starting when they become eligible for old age security. With old age security, there's no disability benefits, there's no death benefits, there's no built-in splitting, although one thing you'll often hear about with OAS is that we want to split income between spouses in order to maximize eligibility for the OAS benefit, that is to get away from the clawback. So there's a lot of planning done around the clawback. Whether that's an effective place to plan or not is a secondary issue. We can look at that when we get into some more detailed financial planning discussions. So I hope that helps. OAS is often considered the first pillar of retirement income. It's a very easy program to have access to if you've lived in Canada for a relatively long time as an adult. You're going to get a decent OAS benefit, although it's not going to be enough. We said $550 a month or thereabouts. It's not going to be enough to have a comfortable retirement on at any stretch by itself. It is a common enough benefit that you do have to have good awareness of it. Virtually everybody is going to be concerned about OAS at some point in their lifetime. I hope that helps. Enjoy your ongoing studies. Thank you.